Hello there, and welcome to the Sleepy Space Channel. Nothing is holding the Earth up. Nothing ever has. The solid, unmoving ground beneath you, the one thing in your life that has never once given way, is not resting on anything at all. There is no pillar beneath the world, no rope above it, no floor under the dark, and gravity is not the support you were taught it was. The Earth is not sitting still in space, and it is not being kept from some fall. It is falling right now, and so, very gently, are you. Tonight we follow that single unsettling fact all the way down, through the old answers that failed, through the strange truth of falling and missing, through curved space and slowed time, to why the Earth has been falling for billions of years and has never once landed. If you find these slow explorations worth your time, a like or a subscribe helps the channel reach others who do. Thank you for being here. But for the next 2 hours, none of this is anything you need to hold up. Settle in. Let your shoulders soften. Let your breathing begin to slow. Let the day fade away. Let's begin. Right now, as the room around you settles into quiet, the ground beneath you is moving faster than any vehicle a person has ever built. The whole planet you are resting on is racing through empty space at roughly 19 miles in every single second, fast enough to carry you from one coast of a continent to the other in about the time it takes to find a comfortable position and let your eyes close. And the Earth itself is only the smallest layer of the motion. The world is never, not for a single heartbeat, truly still, and neither, in the strangest sense, are you. And yet, as you feel the steady weight of your own body pressing down, as the room sits in perfect and reassuring stillness, an old and simple question begins to surface. It is the same question that children ask the moment they understand the Earth is round. It is the same question the very first thinkers asked, long before there was any science to answer it. If the Earth is a great ball hanging in nothing, with no pillar beneath it, no rope above it, no shelf, and no floor of any kind, then what, exactly, is holding it up? Here is what quietly takes apart everything most people believe about the ground beneath their feet. Nothing is holding the Earth up. Nothing ever has. The most dependable fact of an entire life, the solid and unmoving floor of the world, the one thing that has never once given way, is not quite what it seems. The Earth is not resting on anything. The Earth is not sitting still in space, waiting. The Earth is falling. It has been falling for billions of years, without pause, without rest, without ever once landing. And tonight, in the dark, it is still falling. And so, very gently, are you. This is not an unsettling idea, though at first it sounds like one. By the end of this long, slow journey, the falling will feel less like a danger and more like the oldest and softest kind of safety there is. But to arrive at that feeling, we have to take apart almost everything we were ever taught about weight, about the ground, about up and about down, and then build it back, carefully, from the beginning. So let the idea sit lightly for now. We are about to fall together, all the way down to the bottom of one of the oldest questions there is. The question is older than the written word. It is older than the wheel, older than the first city, older than nearly everything human beings have ever made. For as long as people have been able to look up at the sky and down at the soil and wonder how the two fit together, they have asked what holds the world in place. And for almost all of that time, across nearly every culture that has ever existed, the answer was the same in spirit, even when it differed in detail. The world must be resting on something. It simply had to be. The intuition is woven into the fabric of being alive on a planet. Consider what your own body already knows. Everything you have ever picked up falls the instant you let it go. Every cup, every stone, every drop of rain obeys the same plain rule. Things go down. They always go down. And when they reach the ground stops them. The ground is the thing that catches the world. It is the most reliable fact a body ever learns. So when the earliest peoples turned that everyday certainty into a picture of the whole cosmos, they reached for the only logic they had ever known. If everything rests on something, then surely the earth must rest on something too. The only real question was what? And across cultures that never met, that shared no language and no history, the answers arrived again and again at the same shape. In some old traditions, the earth was imagined resting upon the backs of great animals, and those animals in turn standing upon the shell of an enormous turtle, swimming slowly through a shoreless sea. In others, the sky was the arched body of a watchful figure, held high above a flat and patient earth. Among certain northern peoples, the heavens were a great dome, and the world a wide disk, ringed by an ocean no one could ever cross. These pictures share no common source. And still they reached the same conclusion, because they all began from the very same lived experience. A heavy thing needs holding up. The earth is the heaviest thing of all. And so the earth, more than anything else in existence, must need to be held. But every one of these answers carried a hidden flaw inside it. And somewhere in the quiet back of the mind, people always sensed that the flaw was there. If the earth rests on the turtle, then what does the turtle rest on? And if the turtle rests on something beneath it, then what holds that? There is an old, and possibly invented, story of a thinker confronted with exactly this difficulty, who answered with great and cheerful confidence that it was simply turtles all the way down. The story is usually told as a joke, but the joke conceals something profound. It quietly reveals that the entire way of thinking was a trap. Any answer that holds the earth up on a support only moves the question down by one level. The support needs its own support, and that one needs another beneath it in an endless descending chain that can never reach the bottom. And not because no one has searched hard enough for the bottom, but because, as we will slowly come to see, there is no bottom there at all to find. The question was broken from the very beginning, and almost no one could see it. For thousands of years, this was simply how the world was understood. The earth was the floor of everything, the still and certain ground beneath the sky, and the only puzzle worth arguing about was the nature of the support beneath it. To imagine that there might be no support at all, that the ground of the world rested on nothing whatsoever, was not merely difficult. For most of human history, it was very nearly unthinkable. And the slow, patient unthinking of it is the story we are going to follow tonight. The first real crack in this ancient picture appeared in the old Greek world, in a small city on the coast of a warm sea. There, for the first time in the recorded history of our species, a handful of thinkers tried to explain the world without reaching for gods or for stories. They wanted causes that could be examined, questioned, and argued over. It was a quiet revolution, and it began with the ground itself. The earliest of them looked out at the world and proposed that the earth was a flat disk floating upon water, drifting like a great log on the surface of a still pond. In one sense, this was just another support. He had simply swapped the turtle for an ocean. But something important had quietly changed. He was no longer telling a story about a god holding up the world. He was reaching instead for a natural explanation, a thing that could in principle be tested. The water was wrong, but the method was the beginning of everything that would follow. And then came his student, who lived in that same seaside city. he looked at his teacher's floating Earth and asked the obvious and dangerous question. If the Earth floats on water, then what holds up the water? And rather than inventing a deeper support, rather than stacking one more turtle onto the pile, he did something that almost no one before him had ever dared to do. He removed the support entirely. He proposed that the Earth simply hangs, unsupported, in the very middle of everything, held in place by nothing at all. It does not fall, he reasoned, because there is no reason for it to fall in any one particular direction. It sits at the center of the cosmos, equally distant from everything around it. And so, it has no more reason to move downward than upward, no more reason to drift one way than another. Balanced by its own indifference, it simply stays where it is. Consider for a moment what this truly means. Long before telescopes, long before any mathematics of motion, long before physics of any kind, a single person in a small coastal town looked directly at the deepest assumption his entire species had ever held and quietly set it aside. He was wrong about the details. The Earth is not at the center of anything, and it is not held still by balance. But he was right about the one thing that ultimately mattered. He understood, long before anyone else, that the Earth might need nothing at all beneath it. This was not a small refinement of what came before. It was a complete reversal of the most basic intuition a person could have. For every other thinker, the question had been, which support holds the world? He alone suggested that the question itself might have no answer, because there might be no support to find. And he reached that idea more than 2,000 years before anyone would have a way to show it was true. It is worth pausing on how strange and lonely an idea this must have been. Everyone who had ever lived knew, with the certainty of their own bodies, that things fall and the ground catches them. To stand inside that certainty and say that the largest thing of all, the world, rests on nothing and falls in no direction, was to go against the plain evidence of every waking moment. The idea was correct in spirit and almost impossible to accept, and so it did the thing that strange truths so often do. It was admired, and then it was set aside, and the older picture closed back over it like water. For the idea of an unsupported Earth to truly take hold, the world would have to be ready for it. And the world was not ready. It would take many centuries and a long chain of patient thinkers, each correcting the last, before the floating on nothing Earth could return and finally stay. But the seed had been planted. Somewhere in the long memory of human thought, the possibility now existed. The Earth might rest on nothing, and it might not fall, and both of those things might be true at once. The rest of our journey is, in a sense, the slow unfolding of that single early thought. What makes the early picture so worth remembering is not that it was right in every part. It was not. It is that it asked the question in a new way. Instead of asking what catches the world, it began to ask whether the world needs catching at all. That shift, from the nature of the support to the necessity of the support, is the quiet hinge on which the whole story turns. Everything that follows is the working out of that one change in the shape of the question. The early idea of an unsupported Earth did not win. Instead, a later and far more influential thinker built a picture of the cosmos so complete and so satisfying that it would govern human understanding for nearly 2,000 years. He did not believe the Earth floated in a balanced nothing. He believed something much closer to plain common sense. And that was precisely why his answer lasted so very long. In his teaching, every kind of material in the world had a natural place, a home that it forever sought to return to. Heavy things, made of earth and water, moved naturally toward the center of the cosmos. Light things, made of air and fire, naturally rose away from it. The earth, he reasoned, was simply the great gathering of all the heavy material in existence, piled up at the center of everything, because that was exactly where heavy things belonged. It needed no turtle, and it needed no balance. It rested at the center because the center was its home, the one place toward which all weight eternally flowed. This was a careful answer, and a deeply human one. It matched the evidence of the senses perfectly. Drop a stone and it races straight toward the center of the earth, exactly as the theory had predicted. The heavens, made of a finer and more perfect material, turned in their unchanging circles overhead, untouched by the heaviness of the world below. Everything had its proper place. Everything fit. And buried inside all that order was the very same old error, dressed now in more sophisticated clothing. He had still given the universe a fixed center and a single universal down. He had still assumed, without quite noticing the assumption, that there was one true direction toward which all falling pointed. That single hidden idea would not be fully overturned for another 2,000 years. And the slow overturning of it is the very center of our story tonight. For now, it is enough to notice how quietly the assumption hides inside the words. Down. The center. The place where heavy things belong. Each phrase smuggles in the idea of a universal flaw. There was, however, one piece of the great puzzle that these thinkers had already gotten gloriously right, and it only deepened the mystery rather than solving it. They had realized that the earth is not flat. By careful observation, they had assembled an overwhelming case that the world is, in fact, a sphere. And they did it without ever leaving the ground, using nothing but patient attention to ordinary things. They had noticed that when a ship sailed away across the sea, its hull vanished below the horizon before its mast did, exactly as you would expect if the surface of the water curved gently away. They had noticed that travelers heading south began to see new stars rise into view that had been hidden in the north. And most convincing of all, they had noticed that during an eclipse of the moon, the shadow the earth cast upon its face was always, without a single exception, the rounded edge of a circle. Only a sphere casts a circular shadow from every possible angle. The evidence was patient and quiet and undeniable. The earth was a ball. And then, in one of the most elegant single acts of reasoning in all of early science, a scholar measured that ball without ever once leaving the ground. He had learned that in a certain southern city, on one particular day each year, the noon sun shone straight down to the very bottom of a well, casting no shadow at all. Yet on that same day, far to the north, a simple upright stick still cast a clear shadow on the ground. The only way both of these things could be true at once was if the surface of the earth curved between the two places. By carefully measuring the small angle of that shadow and knowing the distance between the towns, he calculated the entire distance around the planet. His answer, found with nothing but shadows, geometry, and a measured walking distance, came within just a few % of the true figure of roughly 25,000 miles around. Long before any person would leave the surface of the world, one quiet thinker in a library had weighed it with sunlight. But notice what this triumph did to the ancient question. It made it harder, not easier. A flat earth could at least be imagined resting on something solid, on pillars, on an animal, on an endless and supporting sea. But a ball, a rounded world hanging in the open dark with sky on every side and no clear top and no clear bottom. What could possibly hold up a thing like that? The more clearly the true shape of the earth came into view, the stranger and more impossible its stillness became. There is a detail of this history that very few people know, a road not taken that would wait nearly 2,000 years to be traveled again. Not every ancient thinker believed the earth sat motionless at the center of all things. There had long been a quiet thread of thought that dared to imagine a moving earth. One thinker suggested that the earth was not the center at all, but moved instead around a great central fire hidden from view. The idea was strange and not widely believed, but it planted a seed in the soil of human thought. And then a remarkable astronomer from a small Greek island proposed something genuinely extraordinary. He suggested that the sun, and not the earth, sat at the center of everything, that the earth and the other worlds moved around it, and that the earth also turned upon its own axis each day, which is why the heavens appear to wheel slowly overhead. He even understood that the stars must lie at almost unimaginable distances, so far away that their positions never visibly shifted as the earth traveled along its great circle. Pause on this, because it is worth holding gently. He had arrived at very nearly the correct picture of the entire solar system, the sun at the center and the earth moving around it, almost 2,000 years before the idea would finally take hold and reshape human understanding. He was right, and almost no one listened. The idea of a moving earth simply felt too contrary to the obvious stillness beneath everyone's feet to be taken seriously. If the earth were truly racing and spinning, people reasoned, then surely we would feel it. Surely the birds would be torn from the sky and the clouds left behind. The objection felt completely unanswerable at the time. We will see, much later in our journey, exactly why it was wrong and exactly why we feel nothing at all. But for now, the point is simply this. The truth had been seen clearly by a single mind long ago, and then it was set aside and forgotten, and the motionless earth, at the center of all things, ruled on for almost 2,000 years more. Some truths, it seems, must be discovered not once, but many times over, and the world itself must grow ready to hear them before they can finally stay. The motionless earth was eventually given its most polished form by a later astronomer, who placed the still earth at the dead center of all creation and surrounded it with a series of enormous, transparent, perfectly nested spheres. Each sphere carried one of the heavenly bodies. The moon rode upon the nearest, then the sun, then each of the wandering planets, and finally the fixed stars upon the outermost shell of all. The spheres turned, the heavens wheeled in their stately circles, and the earth sat perfectly still at the center, needing nothing, because the entire cosmos was arranged in careful order around it. And here is the genuinely surprising thing. It worked. The model could actually predict the motions of the planets across the night sky with real accuracy. It guided astronomers and navigators and calendar makers for more than 1,000 years. And because it worked, and because it agreed so well with the plain feeling that the ground beneath our feet does not move, almost no one ever thought to question its deepest foundation. The earth was held up, it seemed, by the simple fact of being the center. And the center, by its very definition, has nowhere left to fall. The slow unraveling of all this began very quietly, in a tower in the north of Europe, with a careful and deeply cautious scholar who spent decades of his life working out a different arrangement of the heavens. He was so nervous to publish his work that the finished book is said to have reached his hands only on the very day that he died. In it, he moved the sun to the center of everything and set the earth itself into motion around it, just one planet among several, spinning upon its own axis and racing along its own great circular path through the sky. This was an earthquake disguised as a diagram. Because the very moment the earth begins to move, the entire foundation of the old and comfortable picture cracks straight down the middle. If the Earth is not the still and unmoving center of the cosmos, then it is no longer held up by being that center. It is not anchored. It is not at rest. It is a moving body, traveling endlessly through space, going somewhere. And that single change reopened the oldest question of all, in a far sharper and more troubling form than it had ever taken before. The Earth is not the floor of the universe. The Earth is in motion. So what then keeps a moving world from simply flying apart, or drifting away into the cold, or tumbling helplessly into the fire at the center? What governs the motion of a planet that rests upon nothing and travels through nothing at all? And here, slowly, we arrive at the quiet center of the matter, the truth that all of those centuries of careful thinking had circled and circled without ever quite managing to touch. The question itself was broken. For thousands of years, the greatest minds of every civilization had asked the same thing. What holds the Earth up? And they had hunted for the answer in animals, in oceans, in perfect balance, in natural places, in nested crystalline spheres. But the question contained inside it an assumption buried so far down that almost no one could even see that it was there. And that buried assumption was simply false. To ask what holds the Earth up is to assume that there is an up, and that there is a down, and that there is a single direction the Earth would surely fall toward if nothing reached out to hold it. It is to assume that there exists, somewhere out there in the dark, a flaw that the Earth is forever being kept from crashing down upon. There is no such flaw. There is no such down. The Earth was never once resting on anything, and it was never being held back from anything either, because in the long, dark distances of space, there is simply nowhere at all for it to land. The honest answer to the question of what holds the Earth up is that nothing does, and nothing ever needs to. But to truly understand that answer, to feel why it is not frightening but freeing, we have to follow one more thread, the most important one of all. We have to understand what falling really is. And for that, we turn to a young man sitting beneath a tree in a quiet garden during a year when the whole world had gone still. For most of human history, two beliefs had stood side by side, and almost no one thought to question them. The first was that the Earth was at rest. The second was that the heavens and the Earth were two completely separate realms, governed by two completely separate sets of laws. Things on Earth fell. Things in the heavens turned forever in their circles. The two had nothing to do with one another. The new, moving Earth had quietly broken the first belief. The young man beneath the tree was about to break the second. It is worth holding, for a moment, how much was being given up. To set the Earth in motion was to lose the comfort of a fixed and certain ground, the one still place at the middle of all things. People had built their whole sense of the cosmos around that stillness. And now it was gone, replaced by a moving world with no anchor, racing along a path through the dark for reasons no one yet understood. The old question had not been answered. It had only grown larger and stranger. And the answer, when it finally came, would not restore the lost stillness. It would do something far more surprising. It would show that the stillness had never been needed at all. The answer arrived with a young man who had been sent home from his studies because a great sickness was sweeping through the land, closing the schools and emptying the towns. So he came home to the family farm, a quick and restless mind, with nothing to do and nowhere to be. And there, in roughly 2 years of quiet solitude, he laid the foundations of modern physics. The story he later told was simple. He had been sitting in the garden, lost in thought, when he watched an apple fall from a tree to the ground. It is one of the most famous moments in all of science, and like most famous moments, it has been smoothed by the retelling. The apple did not strike him. It simply fell, the way apples always fall, the way everything had always fallen since the beginning of the world. But he did something with that ordinary falling that no one had quite done before. He asked a single, strange, and far-reaching question. The apple falls toward the earth. The moon hangs in the sky overhead. What if the very same force that pulls the apple down is also somehow reaching all the way up to the moon? This was not an obvious thought. For 2,000 years, everyone had believed that the heavens and the earth were ruled by entirely different laws. Things on earth fell. Things in the sky turned in their perfect circles. And here was a young man in a quiet garden proposing that the line between them did not exist at all, that the same humble force which tugged an apple from a branch was the very thing that held the moon in the sky. It was, in its way, as bold a reversal as the unsupported earth had been long before. But to make the idea work, he had to face a puzzling problem. If the same force that pulls the apple down is also pulling on the moon, then why does the moon not simply fall the way the apple does? Why does it not come crashing down out of the sky and onto the earth below? And the answer he arrived at is the single most important idea in our entire journey tonight. So let us take it very slowly, one gentle step at a time. The answer is that the moon is falling. The moon is falling toward the earth constantly, in every single moment, exactly as the apple does. It has been falling for billions of years. The reason it never arrives, the reason it never crashes down upon us, is not that some force holds it up against the fall. It is that the moon is also moving sideways, very fast, at the same time. And so, as it falls toward the earth, it also races past the earth. And the two motions combine into something that has no equivalent in ordinary life. The moon falls toward the earth and misses. And then it falls again and misses again. And it keeps falling and keeps missing, around and around and around, forever. That endless falling that never arrives, that perpetual missing, has a name. We call it an orbit. An orbit is not a thing held up in the sky. An orbit is a fall that goes sideways fast enough to keep failing to land. To make this idea perfectly clear, the young man later imagined one of the most beautiful thought experiments in the history of science. Picture, he said, an impossibly tall mountain, so tall that its peak rises clear above the air into the empty space beyond. Now imagine a cannon sitting at the very top of that mountain, pointed straight out, parallel to the ground far below. Fire the cannon gently, and the cannonball arcs forward through the sky and falls back down to the earth a short distance away, exactly as a thrown stone would. Now load more powder and fire it harder. The ball flies farther before it falls, curving down to land much farther along the curve of the earth. Fire it harder still, and it travels farther yet. And here is the moment where the ordinary becomes the cosmic. Imagine firing the cannonball so fast, so impossibly fast, that as it falls toward the ground, the rounded surface of the earth curves away beneath it at exactly the same rate. The ball is falling. It is always falling, the whole time, pulled steadily toward the center of the earth. But the ground keeps dropping away beneath it just as quickly, because the earth is a sphere and its surface is always curving down and out of the way. And so the cannonball never gets any closer to the ground. It falls and falls and falls, and the ground forever falls away beneath it, and the ball sweeps all the way around the entire planet and returns to strike the cannon from behind. That cannonball is in orbit. It is doing nothing more exotic than falling. It has simply been given enough sideways speed that its falling has become a circle. This is the strange and quiet reality of every orbit in the universe. The moon is that cannonball, fired around the Earth at just the right speed, falling toward us forever and forever missing. A space station full of people, which we will return to later, is that same cannonball, falling endlessly around the world. And the Earth itself, the ground beneath your resting body tonight, is the greatest cannonball of them all. The Earth is falling. It is falling toward the sun, pulled steadily inward by the sun's enormous gravity in every single instant of every single day. And the only reason it never arrives, the only reason we do not all plunge into the fire, is that the Earth is also moving sideways, racing along its path at a speed of roughly 67,000 miles per hour. It falls toward the sun, and it misses. It falls again, and misses again. It has been doing this, falling and missing, for billions of years. There is a quiet detail hidden in the cannonball picture that is worth drawing out because it explains something you can see in the sky every night. The speed a thing needs in order to fall and keep missing depends on how far out it is. Close to a planet, where the pull is stronger, a body must move very fast to keep from spiraling in. Farther out, where the pull is gentler, it can move more slowly and still trace a stable circle. This is why the satellites nearest the Earth race around the whole world in only about 90 minutes, while the Moon, far out in its wide orbit, takes nearly a month to make the same kind of loop. Each one is a cannonball at its own distance, falling at exactly the speed that distance requires, no faster and no slower. The closer the fall, the quicker the missing. This distinction matters enormously, because it completely dissolves the old and broken question. The Earth is not being held up against a fall. The Earth is the fall. There is no support keeping it from dropping into the sun, because the dropping into the sun is happening right now, continuously, and has been happening since the world was born. The Earth is simply moving sideways fast enough that the dropping never reaches its destination. Take away that sideways motion. Stop the Earth dead in its tracks along its path, and the truth would reveal itself at once. The Earth would fall in a straight and quickening line directly into the fire, arriving in roughly 2 months. The only thing standing between us and that fate is not a flaw. It is not a support of any kind. It is speed. The Earth is safe not because it is held, but because it is moving, and always has been, and the moving turns the fall into a gentle and unending circle. The young man did far more than tell this story. He worked out the precise mathematics of it, in a body of work so monumental that it remade the world. He laid down a single law of universal gravitation that governed everything. Every object in the universe, he showed, attracts every other object. The apple pulls on the earth, and the earth pulls on the apple. The sun pulls on the earth, and the earth pulls back on the sun. The strength of the pull depends only on how much mass each object has and on how far apart they are. One single set of equations described the falling of an apple, the orbit of the moon, the paths of the planets, the return of comets, and the tides of the sea, all at once. It was the first time in human history that the heavens and the earth had been shown to obey one and the same law. The wall between the two worlds, the wall that had stood for 2,000 years, simply fell. There was no longer one set of rules for the sky and another for the soil. There was only one universe, governed throughout by the same gentle and universal pull. But the young man was not working entirely alone. He stood, as he himself once gracefully admitted, on the shoulders of giants who had come before him. One of those giants had inherited a treasure of careful sky measurements, made with greater precision than anyone before the age of the telescope. Poring over those mountains of data, he made a discovery that troubled him deeply, because it broke the most sacred rule of the ancient sky. The planets do not move in perfect circles. They move in gently flattened loops, with the sun sitting not at the center, but slightly off to one side. He had found the pattern of planetary motion with perfect clarity. What he could not explain was why. And the answer to that why was exactly the gravity the young man would later supply. One had found the pattern. The other found the cause. Another giant had quietly overturned one of the oldest beliefs about falling. It had long been taught that heavier objects fall faster than lighter ones, which seems at first like simple common sense. A stone certainly falls faster than a feather, but he realized that the feather is only slowed by the air, and that if you could remove the air, all objects would fall at exactly the same rate, no matter their weight. He showed it through careful experiments, rolling balls down gentle slopes and measuring their motion. And this discovery, that all things fall at the same rate regardless of their mass, is far stranger and far more important than it first appears. It means that a feather and a heavy stone would fall around the Earth in precisely the same way. It means that gravity does not care in the slightest what an object is made of or how heavy it is. It treats everything identically. Hold that thought gently in your mind, because it will return much later as the key that unlocks the deepest secret of all. There was one final piece that even the great law left mysterious, and it was filled in much later by a shy and immensely careful experimenter working in his own private laboratory. The law told you how gravity behaved, but it did not tell you how strong gravity actually was. So he set out to measure it directly. He built an exquisitely delicate instrument, 2 small weights hanging from a thin fiber, with 2 much larger weights placed nearby. The gravity of the large weights tugged ever so faintly on the small ones, twisting the fiber by an amount almost too tiny to see. By measuring that minuscule twist in a sealed room, watching through a small telescope from outside so that even the warmth of his own body would not disturb the experiment, he measured the strength of gravity itself. And from that measurement, he was able to do something that still seems scarcely possible. He calculated the mass of the entire Earth. He weighed the whole world, every mountain and every ocean and every hidden layer of it, using 2 pairs of weights and a thread, without ever leaving his laboratory. The answer was a number with more than 20 digits in it, a weight so enormous that the mind cannot hold it. And the true power of the law of gravity was not merely that it explained the things people already knew. It was that it could predict things no one had ever seen. Consider the comet. For most of human history, the sudden appearance of a comet blazing across the night sky had been taken as a fearful omen, a mysterious and unpredictable visitor arriving from somewhere beyond the world. But one astronomer used the new law of gravity to study the path of a particular comet, and he made a daring claim. He proposed that the comet seen in his own lifetime was the very same object that had appeared decades earlier, and earlier still before that, returning again and again on a long and perfectly predictable orbit, falling toward the sun and swinging away and falling back. He calculated that it would return once more, many years into the future. He did not live to see it. And then, exactly as he had foretold, on a winter night long after his death, the comet returned. A person had used the law of gravity to see decades into the future, to predict the return of a wanderer from the dark, and the universe had quietly obeyed. The same object still returns to our skies on its long and faithful loop to this very day. But the most surprising triumph of the law was still to come. Astronomers had discovered a distant planet and carefully tracked its slow path around the sun. And there was a problem. The planet did not move quite the way the law said it should. Its orbit was very slightly off, wandering in a way no one could explain. Some began to wonder whether the great law might finally have failed, whether it broke down at the cold and distant edges of the solar system. But one astronomer had a far bolder idea. What if the law was perfectly correct, and the strange wandering was caused by the gravity of another planet, an undiscovered world even farther out, tugging on the first one from the darkness? Using nothing but the law and the observed wobble, he calculated exactly where this hidden planet must be. He sent his prediction to an observatory, and on the very first night they looked, within a single degree of the predicted position, sat a new planet, never before seen by human eyes. It had been found not by searching the sky at random, but by trusting the law of gravity so completely that the law itself could reveal an entire unseen world through its pull alone. Gravity had become a lamp that could light up the invisible. And the very same law that revealed a hidden planet also explained something far closer to home, something you can watch with your own eyes at the edge of the sea. The tides. Twice each day, the oceans slowly rise and fall, the water creeping up the shore and then drawing quietly back again, in a rhythm as old as the seas themselves. For thousands of years, no one truly understood why. The law of gravity explained it perfectly. The moon pulls on the Earth, and because the near side of the Earth lies closer to the moon than the far side does, the moon pulls a little harder on the near ocean than on the body of the planet, and a little harder on the planet than on the far ocean. The result is that the water bulges gently outward, both toward the moon and away from it. And as the Earth turns beneath these bulges, every shore rises and falls in its turn. The tides are gravity made visible. Every time a person has stood and watched the sea climb slowly up a beach, they have been watching the moon's gravity reach across roughly 250,000 miles of empty space to lift the ocean with an unseen hand. And that same gentle pull is doing something even stranger, on a timescale far longer than any human life. The rising and falling water drags very slightly against the spinning planet, and that friction slowly drains away a tiny portion of the Earth's rotation. The days are growing imperceptibly longer, by a small fraction of a second every century. Hundreds of millions of years ago, a day on Earth was only about 22 hours long, and the early creatures of the ancient seas lived under a faster turning sky. And as the Earth's spin slows, that lost motion is not destroyed. It is handed, through gravity, to the moon, which responds by drifting very slowly away from us, receding by about 1.5 inches each year. The moon you might see tonight hangs a little farther away than the moon our distant ancestors saw, and a little nearer than the moon our distant descendants will see. By now, the picture had transformed completely. The Earth was no longer the still center of all creation, held up by the simple fact of being central. The Earth was a moving world, an enormous cannonball of rock and iron and water, falling endlessly around the sun, kept from the fire not by any support, but by the grace of its own tremendous sideways speed. The old question had not been answered. It had been dissolved, and that should have settled the matter completely. But it did not, because the great law, for all its world-changing power, had quietly left behind a question even stranger than the one it had answered. It could describe the falling with flawless precision. It could predict exactly where every planet would be 1,000 years from now. But there was one thing it could not do. One thing its own author openly admitted he could not do. It could tell you, to the inch, how gravity behaves. It could not tell you what gravity is. The law said that the sun pulls on the Earth across 93 million miles of empty space instantly, with nothing whatsoever connecting them. And this troubled its author profoundly. How could one object reach out and tug on another across an enormous emptiness, with no rope, no rod, no contact of any kind between them? How does the sun even know the Earth is there to be pulled? This idea that gravity acts across empty space with nothing carrying it was called action at a distance, and many of the finest minds of the age found it almost impossible to accept. The author of the law himself refused to explain it. He had described how gravity behaves with perfect certainty. The question of what it actually was, he left for someone else, in some far-off future, to answer. That someone else would not arrive for more than 200 years. And when he did, he would not merely add a deeper layer beneath the old law. He would take apart the very idea of gravity as a force and replace it with something so strange and so beautiful that we are still, all these years later, learning to fully believe it. He began not as a famous professor, but as a young clerk in a patent office, reviewing applications for new inventions during his quiet days and thinking about the deepest secrets of the universe in his spare hours. In a single remarkable stretch of work, largely alone and almost unknown, he overturned the understanding of space and time themselves. He showed that space and time are not the fixed and separate things they appear to be, but are woven together into a single fabric, and that this fabric can stretch and bend depending on how fast you move through it. He also showed that nothing in the universe can travel faster than light, not even information, not even a pull. And that last point created a problem, because the old gravity acted instantly, across any distance, faster than anything. The two ideas could not both be true. Something had to give. For 10 years he wrestled with this contradiction, searching for a new picture of gravity that could fit inside his new picture of space and time. He later called those years the hardest of his entire life. And the breakthrough, when it finally came, arrived not as a calculation, but as a single, quiet, almost dreamlike thought. He imagined a person falling freely, falling without anything to hold them. And he realized something surprising about that falling person. While they are falling, they do not feel their own weight at all. If the falling person lets go of an object in their hand, it does not drop away from them. It simply floats there beside them, falling at exactly the same rate they are. To the falling person, in that moment, gravity has completely vanished. They feel perfectly weightless, as though they were floating in empty space, as though no gravity existed in the world at all. Sit with how strange that is. We think of gravity as the thing we feel most constantly, the steady weight that presses us into our chairs and our beds every moment of our lives. And yet the one situation in which gravity is acting on you most purely, the situation of falling freely with nothing in the way, is precisely the situation in which you cannot feel it at all. This was the loose thread, and he pulled on it until the entire old picture of the universe came undone in his hands. The principle he drew out of that falling person is one of the most profound ideas in all of science. It says this: there is no experiment you could ever perform, sealed inside a closed room, that could tell the difference between sitting still in gravity and accelerating steadily through empty space. Imagine you wake in a windowless room and you feel your normal weight pressing your feet to the floor. You might assume you are simply standing on the surface of the earth. But you could be wrong. You could instead be inside a craft, far out in empty space, with no gravity anywhere nearby, and that craft could be accelerating forward, pushing the floor up into your feet exactly the way the ground does. From inside the sealed room, there is no possible way to tell which is true. Gravity and acceleration feel perfectly, precisely identical. And the reverse is equally true. Inside a falling room, gravity seems to vanish entirely, and you float exactly as you would in the empty distances of space. If gravity and acceleration are genuinely indistinguishable, if no experiment could ever tell them apart, then perhaps they are not two different things at all. Perhaps they are, at the deepest level, the very same thing. And if falling freely makes gravity disappear, then perhaps gravity is not really a force that pulls on you, in the way the old law imagined. Perhaps it is something else entirely. Something about motion itself. Something about the shape of space and the flow of time. This was the doorway, and he walked through it, and on the other side he found a universe no one had ever imagined. The picture he arrived at, after a full decade of patient struggle, changes forever the way we understand the ground beneath our feet. Gravity, he revealed, is not a force at all. There is no unseen rope reaching across space from the sun to the earth. There is no mysterious pull. Instead, mass and energy bend and curve the fabric of space and time around themselves. The sun is so enormously massive that it creates a great curving valley, a wide distortion in the very geometry of space and time around it. And the Earth, in moving through that curved space, is not being pulled by anything. The Earth is simply following the straightest possible path through a region of space that has been bent into a curve. One way to hold the whole idea is in a single sentence. Matter tells space and time how to curve, and curved space and time tell matter how to move. The sun curves the space around it. The Earth, moving through that curved space, follows the straightest line available to it. And because the space itself is curved, that straightest of lines bends gently around and around the sun, closing into the loop we call an orbit. The Earth is not being tugged into a circle. The Earth is going perfectly straight ahead, in the only sense of straight that the curved space allows, and the straight path itself has been wound into a circle by the shape of space near a star. This is genuinely difficult to picture, so let us reach for the image most often used to explain it, while being honest about exactly where that image falls short. Imagine a wide rubber sheet, stretched flat like the surface of a trampoline. Now, place a heavy ball in the center. The sheet sags and dips beneath it, forming a curved valley. Now roll a small marble across the sheet near the heavy ball. The marble does not travel in a straight line. It curves, following the dip in the sheet. And if you roll it at just the right speed, it will circle around and around the heavy ball, like a planet orbiting a star. The heavy ball never reaches out and pulls the marble. It simply shapes the surface that the marble rolls upon, and the marble follows that shape. This picture captures something real, but it hides two important things, and an honest journey must name them. The first is that the rubber sheet shows only space being curved, flattened down into a single surface, when in truth, it is the full four-dimensional fabric of space and time together that bends. And here is the second, and stranger, point. For an object moving slowly, like you, like the Earth, almost all of the effect we call gravity comes not from the curving of space at all, but from the curving of time. Time itself runs very slightly slower, close to a massive object, than it does farther away. This has actually been measured. Clocks lower down, nearer the ground, tick measurably slower than clocks higher up, simply because they sit a little deeper in the Earth's gravity. And it is this curvature of time, more than the curvature of space, that bends your falling path toward the ground. You fall, in a very real sense, because time flows a little more slowly at your feet than at your head, and your natural path through space and time tips you steadily downward. There is one more way to feel what a straight line in curved space really means. Imagine two travelers setting out from two different points along the Earth's equator, some distance apart, both heading due north, perfectly straight, never once turning. At the start, their paths are parallel, but as they travel, something curious happens. They draw closer and closer together until at last they meet at the northern pole. Neither one ever turned. Neither ever steered toward the other. Each followed the straightest line they possibly could, and yet they came together, as if some force had drawn them in, simply because the surface they moved across is curved. This is exactly what gravity does. The coming together is not caused by attraction. It is caused by the shape of the space itself. When the new theory of gravity was finished, it was beautiful. But beauty is not enough in science. The theory had to make predictions that could be tested, predictions that differed from the old law, and it had to pass those tests. And it did, again and again, in ways that grew steadily more surprising. There had long been a small puzzle about the orbit of the innermost planet, the one closest to the Sun. Its orbit shifted very slightly, in a way the old law could not quite explain. The new equations explained it perfectly, on the very first attempt. The small wandering that had quietly troubled astronomers for years fell neatly out of the curved space picture, as though it had been waiting there all along. But the test that made the new theory famous around the world involved starlight. The theory predicted that the Sun's curving of space would bend the path of light passing close to it, by a precise and measurable amount. The only way to see stars near the Sun was during a total eclipse, when the Moon blocks the Sun's blinding glare. So an expedition traveled to a remote place to photograph the stars during such an eclipse. When the photographs were measured, the starlight had been bent by exactly the amount the new theory predicted, and by twice the amount the old physics would have allowed. The news traveled around the world. Space itself had been shown to bend. The fabric of reality was not the fixed and rigid stage everyone had always believed it to be. It curved and flowed and bent around the things within it. And the 200-year reign of the old law quietly came to an end, not because the old law was wrong about how things move, but because the new one revealed why they move that way. In the years since, the strange picture of curved space and bending time has been tested again and again, in ways its author could scarcely have imagined, and it has passed every single test. Some of the most beautiful confirmations involve that surprising claim that time itself runs more slowly the deeper you sit within gravity. This is not a figure of speech. It is literally and measurably true. In one experiment of exquisite delicacy, physicists measured the tiny difference in the flow of time between the bottom and the top of a tower, only a few floors tall. Time at the bottom, slightly deeper in the Earth's gravity, ran measurably slower than time at the top. Over the height of a single building, the difference was almost unimaginably small. But it was there, exactly as the theory predicted. The flow of time genuinely bends with gravity, even across the height of a staircase. In another experiment, scientists took extremely precise clocks, the most accurate timekeepers ever built, and simply flew them around the world aboard ordinary aircraft, first heading one way, then the other. When they returned and compared these traveling clocks to identical clocks that had remained behind on the ground, the clocks no longer agreed. They had drifted apart by a tiny fraction of a second, by an amount measured in mere billionths, and yet by an amount that matched the predictions precisely. Time had flowed at different rates for the clocks in the air and the clocks on the ground, partly because of their motion and partly because of their height in the Earth's gravity. And here is the part that should quietly stay with you. This is not some obscure laboratory curiosity with no bearing on ordinary life. People depend on it every single day. The system of satellites that guides a phone or a car across an unfamiliar city depends entirely on this bending of time. Those satellites carry precise clocks, and because they sit high up in weaker gravity, their clocks tick faster than clocks on the ground by about 38 millionths of a second every day. That sounds like nothing at all. But the whole system works by timing signals with extraordinary precision. And if that tiny difference in the flow of time were not carefully corrected for, if the engineers simply ignored the curving of time and treated it as the fixed and universal thing the old law had assumed, then the navigation would drift off course by several miles every single day. It would become useless within hours. Every time a person follows a map to an unfamiliar place and arrives exactly where they meant to, they are quietly relying on the fact that time runs more slowly here, at the bottom of the Earth's gravity, than it does in the sky above. The curving of space, too, has been seen with remarkable clarity. Just as the eclipse expedition watched the sun bend the path of starlight, astronomers today routinely observe entire galaxies, bending the light of even more distant galaxies behind them. The gravity of a massive cluster of galaxies curves the space around it so strongly that the light of objects far beyond is warped and magnified and smeared into great glowing arcs, as though we were peering at the distant universe through an enormous and unseen lens, made of nothing but curved space itself. We call this gravitational lensing, and it has become one of the most powerful tools in all of astronomy, a direct and visible map of how mass bends the fabric of reality. And at the far extreme of this bending lie the strangest objects in the entire universe, the places where the curvature of space reaches its most absolute form. When a great mass is squeezed into a small enough space, it curves the surrounding space and time so severely that nothing, not even light itself, the fastest thing there is, can ever travel fast enough to escape. Every possible path through that region bends inward, and there is simply no road remaining that leads back out. We call these objects black holes, and they are not holes in any ordinary sense. They are regions where the falling has become complete and absolute, where space curves so steeply that every possible road leads only deeper in. For a long time, they were merely a prediction lurking inside the equations, almost too strange to be believed. But we now know, with certainty, that they are real. We have felt the ripples of black holes colliding far across the universe. And we have, in recent times, even captured direct images of the glowing rings of superheated matter swirling around them, pictures of the very edge of a region from which nothing can ever return. They are the proof, written across the cosmos in its most dramatic possible form, that gravity is the bending of space and time, and that this bending can grow so extreme that it swallows even light. And there was one prediction fainter than all the others, made by the same patient thinker not long after he finished his theory. He realized that when masses move and accelerate, when they circle one another or collide, they send out ripples in the very fabric of space and time itself, faint waves that spread outward across the cosmos at the speed of light, carrying away a trickle of energy as they go. He called them gravitational waves. They are, quite literally, ripples in the shape of space, tiny stretchings and squeezings of distance itself, rolling out across the universe, like ripples spreading across the surface of a pond. And he was almost certain they would forever remain too faint for any instrument to detect. For a full century, he was right. The effect was simply too small, too gentle, too far below the threshold of any machine that could be built. And then, after decades of patient work and the construction of some of the most sensitive instruments ever made, a pair of enormous detectors felt a wave pass through the Earth. The wave had been created by an event of almost incomprehensible violence, the collision of two black holes, each of them many times more massive than our entire Sun, spiraling into one another and merging into a single, greater black hole. But the collision had not happened nearby, and it had not happened recently. It had taken place more than 1 billion light-years away, which means the ripple had been traveling across the universe at the speed of light for more than 1 billion years, before it finally washed over the Earth and through the waiting detectors. And when it arrived, the most violent event imaginable had been smoothed by all that distance and all that time into a stretching of the detectors smaller than the width of a single proton, a distance so small it almost defies belief. A century after the waves were first imagined, and long after the man who imagined them had died, the ripples in space and time were finally, undeniably real. That single detection opened an entirely new way of studying the cosmos. For all of history, we had learned about the universe only by gathering light, by catching the faint glow of distant things in mirrors and lenses. But gravitational waves are not light at all. They are tremors in the shape of space itself, and they pass straight through everything, unblocked and undimmed, carrying news of events that give off no light whatsoever. Since that first wave, the detectors have felt many more, the collisions of black holes and the mergers of the dense remnants of dead stars, each one a faint chord rung on the fabric of space. We have, in a real sense, begun to listen to gravity, to hear the universe falling together in places no telescope could ever see. And every one of those signals is one more confirmation that gravity is not a pull reaching across emptiness, but the bending and trembling of space and time themselves. So now, at last, we can give a far deeper answer to the question we began with. The Earth is not being held up, and it is not being pulled down. There is no force of gravity reaching out from the Sun to tug the Earth along. Instead, the Sun has shaped the space and the time all around itself into a wide and gentle valley, and the Earth, moving forward through that valley, simply follows the floor of it, going straight ahead in the only way that straight ahead can mean in a curved world. The Earth is not falling because something pulls it. The Earth is falling because, in the curved space near a star, falling is simply what a straight line has quietly become. And this brings us to a question that, once you truly understand it, may quietly unsettle you more than anything we have said so far. If the Earth is in free fall around the Sun, falling endlessly and feeling no weight, and if free fall is the state in which gravity vanishes and everything floats, then here is the question that should be pressing gently against your mind. Why do you feel heavy? If everything is falling, why are you not floating? Why can you feel the steady, unmistakable weight of your own body resting into the bed beneath you, right now, this very moment? The answer is as simple as it is strange, and it overturns the last comfortable assumption we have left. You feel heavy because you are not, in fact, falling. The Earth is falling. You are not. Something is in the way. The ground is in the way. And that single fact, that the ground is stopping you from falling, is the entire and complete explanation for everything you have ever called weight. Let us take this very slowly, because it runs against a lifetime of intuition. You have always believed that the feeling of weight is the feeling of gravity pulling you downward. It feels exactly like that. It feels as though something is tugging your body down toward the center of the Earth, and you call that tug your weight. But that is not what you are feeling at all. Gravity, as we have now seen, does not actually pull you in the way you imagine. What you are truly feeling in every moment is not the earth pulling you down. It is the ground pushing you up. Consider what is really happening beneath you right now. Gravity, which is to say the curving of space and time around the earth, is gently trying to send your body along its natural falling path, straight toward the center of the world. If nothing were in the way, you would follow that path. You would fall. But the bed is in the way. And beneath the bed, the floor is in the way. And beneath the floor, the solid ground of the earth is in the way. The atoms of the mattress press up against the atoms of your body and refuse to let them pass. They push back, steadily and constantly, with exactly enough force to stop you from following your falling path. That upward push, that constant resistance of the ground refusing to let you fall, is the only thing you have ever felt. It is the entire sensation of weight. You are not feeling yourself being pulled down. You are feeling yourself being stopped. This is why the falling person, in that quiet thought experiment, felt nothing at all. The instant they began to fall freely, with nothing in the way, with nothing pushing back, the sensation of weight vanished completely. There was no ground to stop them, and so there was nothing to feel. They were finally following their natural path through curved space, unobstructed, and a body following its natural path feels perfectly weightless. The weight you feel is not the presence of gravity. It is the presence of the floor. This distinction matters enormously, because once you grasp it, the whole world quietly reorganizes itself around you. Every object that has ever rested on a surface, every person sitting in a chair, every book on a shelf, every stone on the ground, is not peacefully at rest. It is being actively and continuously prevented from falling. The chair is pushing up into the sitting person every second. The shelf is pushing up into the book. The ground is pushing up into the stone. All of it, everywhere, all the time. The stillness you see around you is not stillness at all. It is a constant, quiet resistance in which the solid matter of the world holds back the endless falling that gravity is forever trying to begin. There is a way of seeing this that turns the entire ordinary world inside out, and once you have truly seen it, you can never quite unsee it again. We naturally think of the falling object as the one being acted upon, pushed and pulled by gravity, while the person standing firmly on the ground is simply at rest, doing nothing, going nowhere. But the curved space picture reveals the exact opposite to be true. The freely falling object is the one that is doing nothing at all. It is simply following its natural path through curved space and time, coasting, unforced, exactly as a ball drifts through empty space when nothing touches it. It is the standing person, the one who feels so solid and so still, who is actually being forced. The ground is constantly pushing up against the soles of their feet, accelerating them, knocking them off the natural falling path they would otherwise follow. The person standing motionless on the earth is, in the deepest sense, the one being pushed around, and the falling person is the one who has finally been left in peace. This is genuinely difficult to accept, because it overturns the most basic feeling we have about the world. Right now, resting in your bed, you feel perfectly motionless, and you feel that gravity is gently pulling you down into the mattress. But in this picture, the truth is very nearly the reverse. You are not being pulled down. You are being pushed up. The bed and the floor and the whole solid earth beneath it are pressing upward against your body, holding you away from the natural path you would otherwise take, the path of freefall. If the earth were not there to push you, you would not feel yourself falling. You would feel nothing at all, weightless and calm, following the gentle curve of space exactly as you were always meant to. Everything you feel as weight is the sensation of being held back from that fall, of being constantly pushed off your natural course by the steady solidity of the ground. This is why true freefall feels so strange and so unsettling to us, and why our stomachs lurch when a lift drops without warning or a plane abruptly descends. We have spent our entire lives being pushed, in every single moment, by the ground beneath us, so constantly that we came to mistake the pushing for stillness and the pushing for safety. And when the ground stops pushing, all at once, when we are at last allowed to fall freely along our true and natural path, it feels not like peace, but like alarm, because we have never, in all our lives, known anything but the push. The most natural state in the whole universe, the state of freefall that nearly everything quietly occupies, is the one single state that feels deeply wrong to a creature raised entirely on the surface of a world. There is a place where you can see this truth laid completely bare, where the floor is finally removed and the falling is allowed to proceed. And that place is in orbit, high above the Earth. There is a widespread belief, an almost universal one, that astronauts float in space because there is no gravity up there. This belief is completely wrong. Not slightly wrong. There is a great deal of gravity where the astronauts orbit. A space station circles the Earth at an altitude of only a few hundred miles, which sounds high, but is in truth barely a skim above the surface of a world that is nearly 8,000 miles across. At that altitude, the Earth's gravity is still roughly 90% as strong as it is down here on the surface, where you are resting now. The astronauts have not escaped gravity in the slightest. Gravity is pulling on them almost exactly as hard as it pulls on you. So why do they float? Why do we see them drifting weightlessly through their station, turning slowly, watching droplets of water hang in the air like tiny trembling worlds? They float for precisely one reason, and it is the reason that ties this entire journey together. They float because they are falling. The space station, and every astronaut inside it, is in a state of continuous freefall around the Earth. It is the cannonball made real, fired around the world at the tremendous speed of roughly 17,000 miles per hour, falling toward the Earth forever and forever missing, exactly as the Moon does, exactly as the Earth itself does around the Sun. The station is falling. The astronauts inside it are falling. And because they are all falling together at the same rate, with nothing pushing up against them, there is no ground to stop them, no floor to push into their feet. And so they feel no weight at all. They are not beyond gravity. They are simply, finally, allowed to follow their natural falling path. And a falling body feels nothing. There is something quietly important hidden inside the fact that the astronauts in their station all fall together at exactly the same rate, and it reaches all the way back to that early discovery about feathers and weights. All objects fall at exactly the same rate, regardless of their mass, as long as nothing like air is in the way to slow the lighter ones down. A feather and a heavy weight, released together in a perfect emptiness, fall side by side and arrive at the same instant. This is exactly why everyone aboard the space station floats together so perfectly. The astronaut, the station, a camera drifting beside them, a trembling droplet of water hanging in the air, all of them are falling at the very same rate, because gravity carries every object identically, no matter what it is. Nothing falls faster than anything else. And so, falling together at the same pace, they have no motion relative to one another, and they simply float side by side in one shared and silent fall. This idea that everything falls at the same rate was shown in one of the most beautiful demonstrations ever performed, and it was carried out not on the Earth, but on the surface of the Moon, where there is no air at all to slow anything down. An astronaut standing on the grey and airless plane held a heavy tool in one hand and a light feather in the other, and before a watching camera, let them both go at the very same moment. On the Earth, the feather would have drifted slowly down, long after the tool had landed, held back by the air. But on the Moon, in that airless silence, the heavy tool and the delicate feather fell together, side by side, and reached the ground at exactly the same instant. A truth first reasoned out long before had been shown, on another world, for everyone to see. Gravity does not care in the slightest what an object is made of or how heavy it is. It carries everything along the same falling path, at the same rate, always. You can even taste this strange weightlessness for yourself without ever leaving the Earth, and people do. There are special aircraft that fly in great rising and falling arcs through the sky, climbing steeply upward and then tipping over the top and falling along a precise and gentle curving path for roughly half a minute at a time. As the aircraft falls along that arc, everyone inside falls along with it, at exactly the same rate, and so everyone floats, untethered, weightless, drifting freely through the cabin, exactly as the astronauts do, exactly as the Earth itself does around the Sun. The plane has not escaped gravity in the slightest. It is simply falling, and everyone inside is falling with it. And for those 30 silent seconds, the floor stops pushing up, and the weight melts away, and the truth of freefall becomes something a person can feel in their own body. It is, in a sense, a way to briefly touch what the whole Earth feels in every moment of its existence. Consider what this means. If you could somehow remove the floor beneath you tonight, if the entire Earth could be made to vanish from under your body for just a moment, you would not feel yourself begin to fall. You would feel instead the sudden and total disappearance of your own weight. The pressing sensation in your back, the heaviness of your limbs, all of it would melt away in an instant, and you would float, in perfect weightlessness, drifting freely until the ground you fell toward eventually rose up to meet you. The unease of falling is not really the falling at all. The falling is weightless and quiet and strange. The unease is only the certainty of the floor that waits at the end of it. But here is the gentle turn that brings us back to the Earth itself. You have a floor. You have always had a floor. Every moment of your entire life, the surface of the Earth has been there beneath you, pushing up into the soles of your feet at exactly the rate gravity tries to send you, falling, catching you, holding you, stopping you so completely and so constantly that you came to believe the holding was simply the natural order of things. You have never once truly fallen in your whole life. Not because the universe cradles you, but because the Earth has always been in the way. The Earth has no such floor. There is no surface beneath the world. There is no ground under the planet to do for the Earth what the Earth does for you. There is nothing out there in the dark to push up against the bottom of the world and stop it from following its falling path. And so the Earth does the one single thing you have spent your entire life being protected from. It falls. It falls freely, with nothing in its way, exactly as the falling person falls, exactly as the astronauts in their station fall, exactly as the moon falls. And because it falls freely, with no floor anywhere beneath it, the Earth feels no weight at all. The planet beneath you, the great heavy world of stone and iron and ocean, is in a state of perfect and perpetual weightlessness, drifting through the curved space near the sun, feeling nothing, pressing on nothing, resting on nothing. The only reason you feel heavy tonight is that you are riding on the one part of the Earth that is being stopped, the thin shell of solid ground that catches you. The Earth itself stops for nothing. The Earth is in free fall, and it always has been, and it feels as weightless as a single drop of water hanging in the air of a falling craft far above your head. Now we can finally take apart the very last hidden piece of the broken question, the one piece that even the great thinkers left quietly standing. It is buried so far inside the words themselves that it slips past almost everyone who ever asks. It is the smallest word in the entire question. It is the word up. When we ask, what is holding the earth up, we are assuming, without ever noticing the assumption, that there exists a direction called up and a direction called down, and that the earth would fall downward if nothing held it upward. The whole question is built on the idea of a universal down, a single direction that all falling shares, a great cosmic floor somewhere far below, toward which everything heavy would eventually descend. But here is the truth that takes the question apart completely. There is no up, there is no down, not in any universal sense. These directions do not exist anywhere out in the wider cosmos at all. Think carefully about what down actually means to you. Down, for you, simply means toward the center of the earth. When you drop a stone and it falls down, it is falling toward the center of the planet you happen to be standing on. Your sense of down is created entirely by the nearest large mass, by the earth beneath you, curving the space and time around itself, and tipping your natural path toward its center. Down is not a property of the universe. Down is a local fact, made fresh by whatever happens to be the largest thing near you. For a person standing on the opposite side of the globe from you, down points in the completely opposite direction through space. Their down and your down are not the same direction at all. They point away from each other, toward a shared center between you. And for an astronaut drifting far from any planet, there is no down whatsoever. There is no direction that feels like the bottom. There is only the empty dark, stretching equally in every direction, with no floor, no ceiling, and no preferred way to fall. This is the final dissolving of the ancient question. The earth is not being held up against some universal down, because there is no universal down for it to fall toward. The whole frame, the whole picture of a world sitting above some great cosmic floor simply evaporates the moment you understand that down is only ever a local invention of nearby mass. The earth does not need to be held up, because there is no up to hold it against, and there is no down for it to fall into. There is only the gentle curving of space around the sun, and the earth coasting forever along its straightest path through that curve. But if the earth is falling around the sun, then at least the sun would be something fixed, some still and steady anchor at the bottom of it all. Except the sun is not fixed either. Nothing is. And here the scale of the falling begins to open up beneath us, layer upon layer, until the mind simply lets go and drifts. The earth falls around the sun, sweeping along its great orbit at roughly 67,000 miles per hour, covering about 19 miles in every second, falling toward the sun and missing, falling and missing, tracing one full loop each year. But the sun is not the still center of anything. The sun is itself falling, racing along its own enormous orbit around the center of our galaxy, carrying the Earth and all the other planets along with it. And the speed of that fall makes the Earth's orbital speed look almost gentle. The sun is moving around the center of the galaxy at more than 500,000 miles per hour. At that staggering pace, you might think the sun would complete its orbit quickly. It does not. The galaxy is so enormous that even at 500,000 miles per hour, a single trip around the center takes the sun somewhere between 200 and 250 million years. Here is a comparison to hold gently in your mind. The last time the Sun was in the position it occupies tonight, completing its previous lap around the galaxy, the great reptiles had not yet appeared on the Earth. The Sun has made the journey only about 20 times in its entire existence. You are riding, right now, on a world that is falling around a star, that is itself falling around a galaxy, on a journey so long that an entire age of giant creatures can rise and rule and vanish in a fraction of a single lap. And the galaxy is not fixed either. The galaxy is falling too, drifting through a small family of nearby galaxies, drawn by gravity toward its largest neighbors. The nearest great galaxy to our own is falling toward us at this very moment, and we are falling toward it, the two of us drawn together across an enormous gulf of space, destined to meet and merge into a single greater galaxy billions of years from now. And the whole local family of galaxies is itself falling, drawn toward an immense and distant concentration of mass so large that it pulls whole clusters of galaxies toward it across enormous distances. And beyond even that, there are larger flows still, rivers of galaxies streaming toward greater concentrations of matter, falling and falling through the dark on scales the mind was never built to hold. It is worth sitting for a moment with the sheer layering of it, because each motion is real, and each is carried inside the next. Your body turns with the surface of the Earth around the planet's axis once a day. The turning Earth falls around the Sun once a year. The Sun, with the Earth still falling around it, sweeps around the galaxy across hundreds of millions of years. The galaxy drifts toward its neighbors. The whole family of galaxies streams towards something larger still. You are not doing one of these motions. You are doing all of them at once, every one nested inside the next, like circles drawn within wider circles, none of them with a fixed center to hold on to. And not a single one of these motions can be felt, because every one of them is smooth and steady and shared by everything around you. Consider what this means for the simple word still. There is, in all of this, no fixed point anywhere. There is no anchor, no pillar, no stationary ground at any level of the cosmos. The Earth falls around the Sun. The Sun falls around the galaxy. The galaxy falls toward its neighbors and toward the distant concentration of mass. The whole local family of galaxies streams through the universe towards something larger. And yet, at no scale, in no direction, is there anything truly at rest for the Earth to be supported upon. The question of what holds the Earth up assumed a still universe with a fixed floor. But the universe is not still. It is a quiet cascade of falling, nested inside falling, all the way out as far as we can see. There is, in fact, one thing that comes closest to a state of rest, and it is worth knowing about, because of how gently it disappoints the hope for a cosmic anchor. Spread throughout all of space is the faint afterglow of the birth of the universe itself, a whisper of ancient light left over from when the cosmos was very young and very hot. It fills the entire sky, in every direction, the oldest light that exists. Because this ancient glow is spread so evenly across all of space, it offers something like a universal frame of reference, a way to ask whether you are moving or at rest relative to the universe as a whole. And when we measure our own motion against it, we find that our small corner of the cosmos is moving through that ancient light at a great speed. Even against the oldest and most evenly spread thing in all of creation, we are not at rest. We are moving. And that ancient light is not a floor either. It is not a surface. It is only an average of everything's motion, a faint and useful reference, not a solid ground anyone could ever stand upon. And there is a final, gentle twist to all of this motion, one that was first understood long ago, and it deepens the strangeness in a soft and surprising way. If everything is falling and moving and racing through space at these tremendous speeds, then why do we feel none of it? Why does the Earth's headlong rush around the Sun at 19 miles in every second not press us back into our beds or send the oceans sloshing over the continents? The answer was given long ago with one beautiful thought. Imagine yourself in the windowless cabin of a great ship, sailing smoothly across a perfectly calm sea. Inside that cabin, if the ship moves with complete steadiness, you cannot tell that you are moving at all. A drop of water falls straight down into a bowl. A ball tossed across the room flies just as it would on dry land. Everything behaves exactly as it would if the ship were sitting motionless in the harbor. There is no experiment you could perform, sealed inside that smoothly moving cabin, that would reveal your motion to you. Steady motion, it turns out, feels precisely and perfectly like rest. This is why we feel nothing as the Earth races around the Sun. The Earth is not speeding up or slowing down in any way our bodies could detect. It is simply coasting, smoothly and steadily, along its great falling curve, carrying us and the air and the oceans all along with it at exactly the same speed. And because we are all moving together, perfectly in step, the motion becomes completely invisible. It feels, from inside, exactly like stillness. The tremendous speed and the perfect calm are not in conflict at all. They are the very same thing, simply seen from inside the ship. And this reveals something deeper still. There is no experiment that can tell you whether you are truly moving or truly at rest, because there is no such thing as being truly at rest. All motion is relative. You can only ever move with respect to something else. And nowhere in all the universe is there anything that holds perfectly still. If the Earth has been falling for billions of years and has never once crashed, a quieter and more patient question begins to surface from the dark. Will it ever stop? Is the fall truly endless, or is it only very, very long? Does the endless missing go on forever? Or is there, somewhere far down the corridors of time, a final lap, a last circle, an ending to the orbit? To answer this, we have to understand why the falling is so stable in the first place, why the Earth does not slowly drift inward toward the fire, or gradually spiral away into the cold, but instead traces the same patient loop, year after year, with such steadiness. The reason the orbit is so stable comes down to a quiet principle of physics, the conservation of angular momentum. It is a heavy name for a fairly simple idea. When something is spinning, or circling, or moving sideways around a central point, that sideways motion is preserved. It does not simply fade away on its own. You have felt this principle yourself. When a spinning skater pulls their arms in close to their body, they spin faster because the spinning motion is conserved and gathered inward. The Earth's sideways motion around the Sun, the very motion that makes it forever miss the Sun, is conserved in exactly this way. It does not weaken. It does not run down. And, crucially, there is almost nothing in the emptiness of space to slow it down. On the Earth, every motion eventually stops, because there is air to push against and ground to rub against, friction everywhere, quietly stealing the energy of motion and turning it into warmth. A ball rolled across a floor always comes to rest. But space is very nearly a perfect emptiness. There is almost nothing out there between the Earth and the Sun to rub against. And so the Earth's sideways speed is preserved with extraordinary faithfulness, lap after lap, with almost nothing to bleed it away. The missing continues because the speed continues. And the speed continues because there is nothing out there to stop it. But where did that sideways speed first come from? If the Earth has been coasting along its orbit for billions of years, then something must have set it moving in the very beginning, must have given it that original sideways push that has kept it forever missing the sun ever since. And the answer takes us all the way back to the birth of the sun and its planets, to a time before the Earth existed at all. Long ago, there was no sun and no Earth, only an enormous and slowly turning cloud of gas and dust drifting in the darkness between the stars. The cloud was far larger than the entire solar system is today, and it was turning ever so slowly, as such clouds always do. Then, perhaps disturbed by the shock of a distant exploding star, the cloud began to collapse inward under its own gravity, all of that gas and dust falling steadily toward its own center. And here, that quiet principle returns once more. As the great cloud collapsed and shrank, its slow turning had to speed up, exactly as a spinning skater speeds up when they draw their arms inward. The slow rotation of the original cloud, gathered now into a far smaller space, became a faster and faster spin. The collapsing cloud flattened out into a great spinning disk, with the young sun forming and brightening at its center, and the leftover gas and dust turning around it in a wide sheet. And it was from that spinning disk that the planets slowly grew. Tiny grains of dust collided and stuck together, building gradually into pebbles, and then into boulders, and then into bodies the size of mountains, and at last into worlds, all of them sweeping around the young sun in the same direction, carried along by the rotation of the disk they had been born from. The Earth itself formed out of that turning disk, and it inherited the disk's motion as its birthright. The sideways speed the Earth carries today, the very speed that makes it forever miss the sun, is not something that was added on later. It is the ancient spin of that original cloud, preserved across billions of years, handed quietly down from the turning of the gas and dust that gave the Earth its very substance. The Earth has been falling around the sun in the same direction ever since the moment it first formed, because it was born already in motion, born from a spinning disk, born into the fall. This is why all the planets orbit the sun in the same direction, and why they all travel in very nearly the same flat plane, as though laid out upon one enormous turning record. They are all the children of the same spinning disk, all carrying the same inherited motion, all falling around the same star in the same ancient direction it first set them turning. When you look out at the orderly solar system, with its planets wheeling around the sun like a slow and silent clockwork, you are looking at the preserved memory of a cloud that collapsed and spun up long ago. The order was not designed by anyone. It was inherited, conserved, and passed down through the long ages from a single, slow turning in the dark. So the Earth's endless fall did not begin with a push from any hand. It began with the gentle and inevitable spin of a collapsing cloud, and it has simply continued, faithfully and without a single interruption, ever since, because in the emptiness of space there has been nothing at all to slow it down. The sideways speed that keeps you safe tonight, that keeps the whole Earth forever missing the fire at the center, is older than the Earth itself. You are riding, in the deepest sense, on the preserved motion of the very cloud that made the world. There is one tiny leak, one faint and almost unimaginably gentle drain on the Earth's eternal motion, and it was predicted long ago, just after the new theory of gravity was complete. The Earth and the Sun, circling one another, also create those faint ripples in the fabric of space, carrying away a trickle of the orbit's energy. But the trickle is almost nothing. The entire Earth and Sun system, with all of the Earth's enormous mass moving at 67,000 miles per hour, sends out gravitational waves with a power of only about 200 watts, roughly the power of a few ordinary light bulbs, drained from a system that weighs a number with more than 20 digits in it. The orbit is losing energy so slowly through these faint ripples that the rate is almost meaningless. And as the orbit very, very gradually loses that tiny trickle of energy, the Earth does, in principle, creep just barely closer to the Sun, spiraling inward at a pace so slow that the number defies the imagination. To actually spiral into the Sun by this process alone would take a span of time with more than 20 digits in it, a number of years so enormous that the entire age of the universe, the whole of cosmic history, from the beginning until now, would amount to no more than a single drawn breath in comparison. The fall is, for all purposes a living thing could ever grasp, eternal. And in truth, it will never happen at all, because the Sun will change long, long before those faint ripples could ever matter. In roughly 5 billion years, the Sun will exhaust the fuel at its core and begin to swell outward, slowly and enormously, into a great red giant, growing until it engulfs the innermost worlds, and perhaps the Earth itself, before finally shedding its outer layers and settling into a small, dense, slowly cooling ember. The Earth's fall around the Sun will end, but it will not end with a crash, and it will not end with the slow spiral of gravitational waves. It will end because the thing the Earth has been falling around for all those billions of years will quietly cease to exist in its present form. The fall will end not by arriving, but by the gentle disappearance of the star at its center. There is a deeper subtlety to this stability, and honesty requires that we name it. The family of planets has held together for billions of years. But on truly enormous spans of time, the mathematics reveals something humbling. The solar system is, in the deepest technical sense, very slightly unpredictable. The tiny gravitational nudges that each planet gives to all the others accumulate so slowly and so intricately that the exact positions of the planets in the far distant future cannot be known with perfect certainty. The honest answer, when we ask precisely where in its orbit the Earth will be billions of years from now, is that nobody knows, and nobody can ever know, because the smallest uncertainty today grows, across those enormous spans, into an unreadable blur. But notice how gentle even this uncertainty truly is. It does not mean the Earth is in any danger of flying off into the cold or plunging into the fire anytime soon. It means only that the precise details of its path, countless ages from now, are hidden from us behind the sheer depth of time itself. The orbit is stable in every single way that could ever matter to a living thing. It is only the far horizon, billions of years away, that fades softly into the unknowable. And there is something almost beautiful in that. The fall is faithful enough to have carried life through billions of years without a single catastrophe, and yet free enough, at the very edge of time, to keep its deepest secrets quietly to itself. So let yourself feel, one last time, the sheer depth of the time across which this faithful fall has carried on. Light from the Sun takes about 8 minutes to cross the 93 million miles of empty space and reach the Earth. The sunlight that warms a morning left the surface of the Sun 8 minutes before it ever touched a face. And yet that same Sun, pouring out that same patient light, has held the Earth in its falling embrace for a span so long that the mind cannot truly hold it. Every one of those countless mornings, the Earth was falling. Every one of those countless nights, the Earth was falling. The fall did not pause for the slow rise of the mountains, or the patient filling of the seas, or the gradual arrival of the very first living things. It has not stopped for a single instant in billions of years. The Earth has now fallen around the Sun billions of times, each loop a full year, each one a single silent circle traced through the curved space near a star. Every mountain range that has ever stood has risen up out of the earth and then slowly worn back down into the sea during this fall. Whole continents have drifted across the face of the world and crashed together and torn apart again. And through all of it, every moment of it, the earth simply kept falling, never once arriving, never once crashing, never once stopping to rest. Your own life, your whole life, with everything in it that has ever felt enormous to you, occupies less than a single one of those countless laps. You were born partway through one circle, and you will live out your days within it, and the earth will keep falling long after, exactly as it fell long before. And it is not stopping now, as you rest here in the dark, listening, drifting, carried along on the oldest and steadiest motion you have ever known. So let us return, at the very end, to that old joke about the turtles all the way down. The ancients feared an endless stack of supports, each one needing another beneath it, descending forever without ever reaching solid ground. And it turns out the truth is stranger than the joke, and far gentler. There are no turtles, and there is no down, and there is no floor for any stack to ever rest upon. The endless descent that so troubled the old thinkers does not stretch downward into forever. It simply never begins, because the very first step of it, the very first assumption that the earth must rest on something in some downward direction, was never true to start with. You cannot have turtles all the way down when there is no down for them to descend into. The whole imagined tower of supports dissolves into the open dark. And what remains is only this: a world falling freely around a star, that is falling freely around a galaxy, that is falling freely through a universe with no bottom, no edge, and no flaw that anyone has ever found. And here is the quiet comfort hidden inside all of that immensity, the comfort that begins to soften the strangeness of it. A fall needs a bottom in order to be dangerous. The unease of falling, as we have already seen, is never the falling itself, which is weightless and quiet. The unease is always the flaw that waits at the end. But the Earth's fall has no flaw. There is no bottom of the universe for it to crash into, no surface anywhere in any direction for it to strike. And a fall with no bottom is not a plunge at all. A fall that never arrives anywhere, that simply continues, gently and endlessly, curving through the shape of space, is not a catastrophe waiting to happen. It is an orbit. It is a circle. It is, in the deepest sense, the safest motion there is, because it is forever in the act of falling and forever failing to land, and so it can never, ever crash. The Earth has been falling for billions of years and has never once hit the ground, for the simple and quiet reason that, in all the long, dark distances of the cosmos, there is no ground there for it to hit. And so we return, at the very end, to where we began. To you resting still in the dark, with the gentle weight of your own body pressing down into the bed, and the strange new knowledge that nothing at all is holding it up. We have traveled a long way together to arrive back at this single, quiet moment. And the moment has not changed. But perhaps the feeling of it has. We began with what seemed like one of the most basic and answerable questions a person could ask. What is holding the Earth up? And we discovered, layer by layer, that the question itself was the illusion. Nothing is holding the Earth up. Nothing ever has. There is no floor, no support, no anchor, no pillar, no cosmic ground of any kind. The Earth is falling, and it has always been falling, freely and weightlessly, through a universe that has no bottom for it to land upon, and no up against which it could be held. Perhaps, resting here in the dark, that sounds at first like one of the loneliest things a mind can hold. The sense that the solid world we have always stood upon was never solid at all. But consider it gently because it is very nearly the opposite. A world that was truly held still in space, fixed and motionless beside the sun, would not be safe at all. It would simply fall straight into the fire in a matter of weeks, with nothing to carry it sideways and nothing to make it miss. It is only because the Earth is falling, only because it is in this endless, supportless, weightless freefall, that it traces its safe and steady circle at just the right distance from the sun, close enough for warmth and light, far enough to keep from burning. The fall is not the danger. The fall is the safety. The very thing that has no flaw beneath it is the very thing that keeps the seasons turning, that keeps the oceans liquid, that keeps the air at the temperature of life. Everything you have ever loved exists because the Earth is falling and never lands and never stops. Let us widen the view one last time, as far as it is possible to pull back. You exist on a single small falling world, circling one ordinary star. That star is one of several 100 billion stars in a single galaxy, itself falling through the dark. And that galaxy is only one of perhaps 2 trillion galaxies, scattered across a universe so wide that light itself, the fastest thing there is, could never hope to cross it in the entire age of the cosmos. Nothing in all of that immensity is being held up. None of it rests upon anything. Every star, every world, every galaxy, every river of galaxies streaming through the dark, all of it is falling, turning, drifting, in one enormous and silent motion, with no floor beneath it, and no ceiling above it, and no edge anywhere that anyone has ever found. And you are inside it. Not watching it safely from some still place outside, but woven into the very fabric of the falling, riding upon one small, warm world, in one quiet corner of it all, falling along with everything else tonight, in the dark. It should make you feel small, and it does. But notice that the smallness is not the whole of the feeling. Because within all that supportless, falling immensity, here you are, warm, breathing, falling exactly as you are meant to fall, on the one world out of all the countless worlds that you know holds life, beneath the one sky you have ever called your own. The universe never once promised the Earth a floor to rest upon. But in all that immensity, it left room. It left room for a falling world to find its gentle circle around a star. It left room for oceans, and for air, and for warmth, and for the slow miracle of living things. It left room for you, resting here in the quiet, held by nothing, resting on nothing, and yet perfectly, completely safe. So as your breathing slows, and the dark grows soft, and the day finally lets go of you, you can let go too, just a little, of the old idea that you need to be held up by something solid in order to be safe. You never did. The Earth never did. For billions of years, it has rested on nothing whatsoever, and never once has it fallen anywhere at all. There is no floor for it to reach, and so there is nothing for it to fear, and nothing for you to fear either. Let the old idea of solid ground loosen its hold. Let your shoulders soften. Let your breathing slow. Let yourself fall, gently, the way the whole world is falling, into sleep. Sleep well, and good night.